I want Japanese society to grow and thrive. What is good, everyone? Welcome to the channel. My name is Paul. I make videos about Japanese society, life, and culture from the viewpoint of a long-term foreign resident. I have been here for 20 years, and today I'm going to be going over some things that bother me about life here in Japan. Now, whenever I make a video that is somewhat negative about Japan, defenders come out of the woodwork and make claims that I shouldn't make videos like this. I made a video that was about 5 minutes long earlier this week talking about why I sometimes make more negative or more complainy style videos. And I'm not gonna go over everything that I said there in this video. I just want to take one point out of there, which is I actually went through my video catalog and checked how often I make a video that is at least partially negative, and it worked out to be 5% of all of my videos, of over almost 400 videos about Japan. So the truth of the matter is I just don't make negative videos very often, and I think that's very reflective of my experience here in Japan. I've been here for 20 years because it is so overwhelmingly positive, and I've had such a great 20 years here that I don't want to leave. But if I never talked about the negative at all, I wouldn't be completely honest with my viewers. So I'm going to be sharing with you 4 things that I kind of am bothered by here in Japan. The first 2 are actually really frivolous and just kind of silly. The later 2 are going to be the more serious 2. So let's jump right into it with the first one. And that first one is I cannot stand Japan's sports coverage of Major League Baseball in America. If you watched sports news shows in Japan, you could be forgiven if you thought that there's only one player in all of Major League Baseball, and that is Shohei Ohtani. And there is only one team in all of Major League Baseball, and that is the Los Angeles Ohtanis. They just go on and on and on about Ohtani. They're gonna do human interest stories about Ohtani's dog more than they would ever talk about any of the rest of the league, or even give the score of the game. They'll sometimes be like, Ohtani hit a single today and the Dodgers won. Okay, who'd they play? What was the score? We don't know. They just talked about Ohtani only, and it drives me bonkers, especially because Japan is supposedly a baseball-loving country. I think they are, except that Ohtani supersedes that. He goes beyond it, and basically there's far more Ohtani fans than there are actual baseball fans, and that's why this is going on. Because there are other great Japanese players in Major League Baseball in the US. I am a fan of the Chicago Cubs, and they of course have Imanaga, the pitcher who was originally here in Yokohama, where I'm filming. He was a Yokohama Bay Star before he went to the Cubs. And Seiya Suzuki, who is their outfielder, hit a lot of home runs this year, very important part of that team. But you would never know it by watching Japanese sports coverage. It's just all Ohtani all the time, and it gets tiring. It's so extreme that I was actually talking to an older gentleman in an izakaya bar 2 weeks ago who was talking about Ohtani, and I mentioned, well, there's also Ichiro, right? Ichiro Suzuki, and he was like, no, Ohtani's the real thing, not Ichiro. And I was like, wait, Ichiro is not the real thing? The guy who was inducted to the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame this year? No, it's all Ohtani. He's the real baseball player. Okay, all right. Ohtani craze is out of control. All right, the next more frivolous thing that we shouldn't take too seriously, but I do kind of have a beef with in Japan, is the sheer lack of anything spicy in restaurants or shops. Japan just does not do spicy. There's been a spicy craze recently where more snacks have come out claiming to be spicy, and they've been changing up and having more like spicy fried chicken options in the convenience stores. You think I would learn. I'm dumb enough to buy them and try them, and every single time I'm just like, maybe they just added some red food coloring? I'm not sure. You see the terms a lot, karakuchi or karai, or gekikara is the one that's supposed to mean really spicy, but gekikara is, I guess, maybe starting to border on mild, I would give it. It's definitely not very spicy. Go into an Indian restaurant here and order your curry gekikara, and it's clearly done for Japanese gekikara because Japanese person might eat it and think that's really spicy. An Indian person might go in and eat it and be like, why didn't they put any spice in this? Like, what is this? You just have to do it yourself if you want spice. And that's why I grow my own hot peppers in my garden. I grow jalapenos, cayenne, habaneros, ghost peppers, and this year for the first time I'm growing these yellow, like citrus lemon peppers from Peru, which they're not super heat, but they've got this nice citrus taste to them, which is a different flavor profile that's nice. So you just gotta do it yourself, gotta grow them yourself, import hot sauces, that sort of thing. All right, let's dig down into the two more serious things that I want to talk about today. The first I want to talk about is meiwaku, or this idea in Japanese culture that you want to avoid being a nuisance for others and cause any difficulty for others. In fact, I'm just about to pass a preschool and I'm going to stop recording because I don't want any meiwaku due to that. Okay, I'm past the preschool. You could probably maybe hear some voices still, but I didn't want to cause any trouble or difficulty by capturing any children on camera. And meiwaku is great for the most part. This sense of not wanting to cause trouble or be a nuisance for others is really what makes Japanese society run the way it does. It's the reason why the trains are so quiet when you ride them. It's the reason why you don't see litter on the streets as you walk around, because no one wants to do something that would make them appear to be a nuisance or inconsiderate of other people's space, other people's feelings. Basically, they just don't want to be trouble for other people. So meiwaku in general, this sense that you don't want to be a nuisance, is great. However, like many great things, it can be taken to extremes that are not so great. I would specifically point to two instances. One where people become so paranoid about not being a nuisance that you end up not being able to act or just be normal or do normal human things because you're worried it might upset someone. And I'll give you an example of that. And I will also give you an example of the second. The second one is that people can over-perceive someone as being a nuisance. Like in the sense that they're going to complain or be really ultra-sensitive about things that, again, is like not allowing humans to do human things. So an example of the first is from my own life. My wife is so worried that our garden is going to cause any kind of mess for the neighbors that a lot of my weekend is spent out trimming the certain plants that tend to grow really fast or tend to get flowers that will, drop their petals or drop off. So it's this constant cleaning process because heaven forbid some leaves end up in the neighbor's yard when there's a stiff wind. When we were building the house and planning the landscaping, I floated the idea of having a sakura tree, cherry blossoms in the spring. And she's like, no, too messy. And I'm like, well, I'll clean up the mess. She's like, no, not the mess in our yard, the mess that would go into other people's yards. Okay, so we can't have nice things if they are natural and cause a mess. Going to that sort of extreme to not cause anyone any trouble. And so, we're seeing lots of sterile yards around houses. New houses that get built will have concrete, gravel, and fake grass. And that's all because, people maybe don't want to take the time to upkeep real plants and flowers and things, but it's also from this sense of not wanting to be a nuisance to others. The example the other way it can go to extremes is when people get complainy. There is a house relatively near to where we live. It's an older couple that built their house from scratch. So they bought the land, built the house, and it's right next to a public park. And apparently they are very common complainers to the neighborhood association that kids are being noisy in the park. Not at 3 a.m., but just during the day. Like, heaven forbid that kids be kids in a public park, and you're the ones that chose to live next to the public park with playground equipment and everything. And what did you expect? And that's, okay, one anecdotal example, but to take it a bit further, I've read articles about neighborhoods in Tokyo that they don't want daycare facilities to open up. Because one of the common issues with child rearing in Tokyo is that there's not enough daycares, especially these days when more and more both parents are leaving the house and working, but they can't find a place to put their kids. All the daycares are full. Elderly people in the neighborhoods don't want a daycare because they might be noisy. You know, kids might make noise and disturb their elder years, I guess. And it has to be elderly people because young people in Tokyo are all going to work every day. So they're not going to be in the neighborhood. I mean, that's why you need the daycare, right? You're going to work and you want to leave your children somewhere. And it's just ironic in this country of falling population, low birth rate, and the idea that children and the noise of children cause meiwaku. I mean, it's just sad, really. I mean, this country needs more children. Needs more children to pay for those elderly people's pensions when they are working in the future. It bothers me. It definitely bothers me that children are seen as a source of meiwaku just for being themselves. And I think there's plenty of Japanese who agree with me on this. So this isn't just a foreigner complaining about it. Now, the final one that I'm going to talk about the final thing that bothers me that I'm going to talk about that's on the more serious side is it's kind of hard to put a clear preamble on this except to say that it seems like younger generations or just Japanese culture in general is moving more and more to trying to avoid human contact as much as possible. Like, avoid the necessity to communicate with people and talk to anyone on a daily basis. Now, it was a number of years ago where a coworker of mine mentioned to me, he said, Japanese people seem to want to do anything to avoid talking to others. And we're moving to a culture where, that's, again, part of the birth rate problem and everything else. No one wants to actually communicate or interact with other people. And I thought, that's pretty extreme. I don't agree with that. Like, what is your basis for this? And the thing he said was, well, just how everyone prefers everything to be automated in Japan. The fact that you have vending machines for everything, all ticket machines, payment systems, everything is automated so that you never actually have to deal with a person. ATMs here have far more functions than they do in the States, so you can do a lot more things without having to go talk to a bank teller. And I thought, that's pretty thin. People are still talking to each other, right? And he's like, well, not on the trains, not on the street, not to people at the table next to them in a restaurant or something like that. And I was like, okay, yeah, but it's a big city and people can't be just communicating with everyone around them all the time. And so I kind of brushed it off. But now, as automation is increasing by means of the fact that you go to restaurants now and there's not wait staff anymore, it's either a tablet on the table that you order from, or there's a QR code that you order through your phone. And then in many of the chain restaurants, it's a little robot dolly thing that comes out and delivers your food. So you've sat down, ordered, gotten your food, have eaten, and then it's a self-checkout. You've done an entire restaurant experience without talking to anyone except someone you may have come with. And that just, I don't know. I go to a restaurant because it's more social than just eating at home by myself, right? Part of the experience for me is being served. I feel like I am doing all the work. And this automation is, self-cashier registry. This is also the self-checkout lanes in the supermarkets and convenience store now, and many other shops are going to self-checkout. And I get it, labor shortages and everything else. And let's be honest, corporations cutting costs of having to pay humans. I always joke with my wife at the supermarket that I'm still waiting for my paycheck for all the cashier work I've been doing. But does this really mean that people are genuinely wanting to avoid human contact? Is this just not, automation is an economic thing? I can't tell you how many times I've been at my local supermarket and seen a short queue for the self-checkout registers, and there's a couple of cashiers standing at the full-service ones, and they don't have any customer there. Like, people are queuing or actually lining up a little bit for the self-checkouts and not using an actual human to ring up their food. So the preference has seemed to shift to self-checkout. And these self-checkouts aren't going away in Japan, by the way. I understand they're disappearing to some extent in America because theft is a little too rampant. Japan, high trust society, most people don't commit theft, so those self-checkout things aren't going away anytime soon here, I fear. The other thing is the restaurant automation. I've asked my university students, I've talked to them and said, all things being equal, do you choose the restaurant with wait staff, or do you choose the restaurant with the QR code or the tablet? 99%. I mean, there might be one person in the class, or I should say one person every other class, who raises their hand that they'll actually choose the one with the server. They all want to just go and order from their phone and never have to interact with anyone. And this bothers me, not just because I feel like I'm doing more work when I go out. It's not just a personal reason. No, the reason why this bothers me is this to me seems like another one of the related issues that is all looped together, which is all part of this puzzle of why Japan's society is experiencing this falling birth rate, the emptying countrysides, the aging society. Some of you may know, but I am currently in the midst of putting together like a grand thesis about the aging population birth rate problem in Japan, where I'm going to explore a number of threads like this and how they all kind of lead to that same place, which is less children, less kids in the future generation. And I'm putting quite a bit of research into actual numbers and trends and trying to put some real research weight behind what I'm going to talk about in an upcoming video. I've gotten far enough along now that I think I will be able to release that video in November sometime, and it's basically going to be just a grand thesis on the falling birth rate, what I think is contributing, and also what I think could help turn it around, or what things could be considered to help turn it around. It's something I'm pouring a lot of passion into, and I hope it turns out as epic as I want it to be. Maybe even try to get the video out and then publish an editorial piece in some newspapers somewhere. That's kind of the goal I have in my head. And this whole idea of the younger generations taking less effort or having far less desire to actually having much in the way of human interaction is one of the worrying parts of this whole puzzle that is Japan's demographic problems. So that's really why it serves as a concern for me, because I want Japanese society to grow and thrive, and so I want things like this to be reversed somehow. And that's what's going to be covered in that November video when it comes out, including my thoughts on immigration. A lot of people have asked me in the comments, hey, talk about immigration. What are your thoughts on immigration? Do you think immigration is good or bad, or what should we do? I've avoided it because I want to talk about it within this whole overall idea, because obviously immigration is a part of the puzzle, because do we need to have more people from foreign lands? So I will definitely talk about immigration in part in that video. So there you have it, things that currently bother me about Japan. A couple of them frivolous, a couple of them more serious, but I hope that the more serious ones are understood to be my concern about Japanese society, as Japanese people are also concerned of those very same things. So if you feel like I'm a foreigner complaining about Japan, just keep in mind that this is not just me. Also, I want to apologize briefly for the kind of choppier edited video today. I had a lot of delivery trucks and scooters go by me at close range, and so I had to keep kind of cutting those parts because they really overwhelm the microphone with their sound. So those are my current 4 concerns, or 4, not really complaints, but issues with Japan at the moment. Two frivolous, two not so frivolous. I hope that you enjoyed them, got something out of this video, and please comment below what you think about the things I talked about. I definitely want to know if you are with me or against me about Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Ohtanis. I can't wait for the season to be over. Any rate, thanks for watching this particular video. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe if you made it to this part of the video and you haven't done those things. What are you doing? Now's your chance. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one. Peace.